Hello and welcome to Raleigh, North Carolina. Raleigh is the capital of North Carolina, and there are about 475,000 people that live here. It got its name from Sir Walter Raleigh and actually has the nickname of the City of Oaks, as there are a lot of oak trees that are here. It has a nickname of the Smithsonian of the South. If you don't know what the Smithsonian is, it is some museums that they have in Washington, D.C., and they have a big presence here in Raleigh, with some of them actually being free. Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill are actually known as the Research Triangle, as there is a huge research presence here. And lastly, a lot of this area was fortunately spared from the Civil War and all of the burnings that happened back then, and so there's a lot of cool history that's here. So now I'm gonna go explore Raleigh. This area right here behind me is really cool. It's called the Cree Shimmer Wall, and what's really unique about it, it's about a 9,000 square feet area, and about 75,000 light and dark aluminum pieces were used, so when the wind blows, this actually changes shape and color. So I'm kind of curious to see over the next few days that I'm here if this changes. It's a little bit hard to see, but I'm sitting out in front of a chocolate factory, and it's called Videri. What's really interesting about it is they're called from bean to bar. And you can actually come here Tuesday through Friday and watch them actually make, sort them, and process them here, which is really fascinating. You can also do 10 free samples, which I just did. And it was really, really fascinating just even talking to the girl about all the knowledge she has here. So this is a really cool place to check out. You can do a self-guided tour for free. I think they have certain hours for that, but it is definitely well worth it just to see something a little bit different. I am standing here next to my buddy Martin Luther King Jr. This is interesting, as this is the first public park that is devoted to Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights. This is also a garden. It's not very big, but there's also a cool little sculpture that's just to the side of Martin Luther King Jr. here. So it's just a nice little area to kind of walk around, and it's next to a busy street, so he is able to view all the people passing by him each day. I am at a place called Lake Wheeler, which is 20 minutes south of Raleigh. And as you see, it's very peaceful and quiet down here, so if you want to kind of get away from the city noise a little bit, this is a great place to come. It is mostly for fishing and boats. There is a little path that's over here that you can walk around the sides of the lake here, but for the most part, I think people do just come out and enjoy being on the water. They do have signs everywhere, such as this one beside me, that says that you can't go swimming anywhere, but it's still worth just coming out here, getting the sunshine, and enjoy the nice weather. I am now at historic Yates Mill County Park. And this is a little bit different because it does have this mill that's right here beside me. You might be able to hear a little bit of the waterfall that's just to my left, but it does have a really pretty lake that's surrounding here, and you can see the old mill that was used here. There's a nice little path that goes around the lake, and this is just kind of a peaceful little place to come and just enjoy the nice weather. I am standing on North Carolina State University, and I saw this little avenue here of roses, and so I couldn't resist showing you this because it's so pretty and it smells so nice. There's a few bees buzzing around me. It's very, very pretty. But some of these buildings around here are so pretty. This was built in 1887. It has 36,000 students that go here, making it one of the larger universities here in the US. And if you just can't decide what you want to study, no worries. There are 106 different subjects that you can study here. One of the cool things that they have is a really beautiful bell tower. I don't know this story, so you'll have to look that up for yourself, but it was really cool to see, and it's kind of a focal point of North Carolina State University. I am in a place called Pullen Park. As you see, it's really beautiful. They have an interesting claim to fame. They were the first public park in North Carolina. They are the 5th oldest continuously operating amusement park in the US and the 16th oldest in the world. And as you walk around here, you do have little signs of this being a little bit older of a park, which is really cute. They have a really beautiful carousel that was opened in 1911 that you can go on. And they say that about 250,000 people go on the carousel every single year. They have places for picnics, for just walking around, and it is just really peaceful and really beautiful to visit. It is open daily. You don't need a ticket or anything just to walk around, but you do for the different rides that they have. But other than that, it's just a really beautiful park to come and just stretch your legs, especially on a beautiful day like today. This museum behind me that says Then, Now, and Next is the City of Raleigh Museum. Interesting enough, they have one museum that's just dedicated to North Carolina history, but this one is actually dedicated to just Raleigh history. I won't be able to go into it, but I still wanted to point it out as I find that just unique. But they have 2 different museums, one local and one a little bit more regional. This building behind me is the Executive Mansion. This was built in 1883, and interesting enough, is still used to this day to house the governor. They said that the current governor is the 30th governor to live here, and this is also used as a event center. People can use this as a meeting space, and you can even schedule a tour to go inside and look around. Regardless, it is just a beautiful house. I am standing in Mordecai Historic Park, and this is a cute little place to walk around. They do guided tours for $7 where you can actually go into the buildings, or you can just walk around the outside of it for free. But the house that's behind me here is the original building and in the original location. This is really interesting, and the girl that I did the tour with just had a lot of information to share. One of the buildings on this location is actually the birthplace of the President Andrew Johnson, and she does talk about him and his life. Doesn't sound like he was the most kind person in the world or the most well-liked, but that building is still here that you can go into and see. Another thing that was really interesting is that there was obviously a big slave presence here. There's around 1,200 acres back before the Civil War. One of the things that she told me in the tour is that there were some interviews after the Civil War with people that were actually slaves. And at the end of the tour, she asked if I would like a copy of the transcripts from that. And this is the slave in their own words. And I will say it's very interesting because if you're not from the South, the phonetics of how things are written down, it does look like a different language. So it was really interesting to see. But this is really fascinating just to walk around for $7. It's definitely not that much, but you gain a lot of information. Behind me is the North Carolina History Museum. It is free to go to. It's one of the Smithsonian museums, and the whole first floor is just for history. They show the first people, such as the Scots-Irish, the Highland Scots, enslaved people, as well as Native Americans. They then move on to the Civil War. They show other periods of time such as World War I, World War II, and even with the Wright brothers taking their first flight here in North Carolina. They show the inside of a house, as well as what it'd be like to milk a cow. And they even have a lot of things that you're welcome to touch. All of that's just on the first floor. And then on the 3rd floor, they actually have an old soda fountain that you can visit, as well as the children's area that's really cute for them to go in and kind of learn about other children's things. So this is really great, especially that it's free. I am at the Raleigh Beer Garden, and this is a really cool place. I'm at the back right now, but once you walk in, there is a few different levels that you can go to. And the claim to fame here is they have the world's record for beer on tap. They have 366 on tap. And that's quite impressive, but it's also just a really cool place they have inside with a big tree that's right at the entryway. It's just a very inviting place to be, both inside and outside. I am standing on the campus of Shaw University. What's really interesting about Shaw University is it is the first ever historically black college or university. I didn't know what that meant until about a couple months ago when a black friend of mine explained it to me. Right after the Civil War, when so many enslaved people were suddenly free, there was still nowhere for them to go and get their education. So they created historically black colleges that were for about 100 years between the Civil War and then until 1964, when education was open to all, whether you're white or black. Most of the historically black colleges or universities are devoted here in the South. And so this is really cool to see. As you can see back here, 150 years that they have this now, and you can go online and find where some of the other ones are, but this is the first ever. With this piece of history in the background, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye here. But one thing I did want to point out that I didn't even really notice until I was driving around is that they have these little markers all over the city that is Capital City Trail, and they have a number. You can go online and see what that is. Basically, it's kind of a free walking tour around the city. It was developed in 1963 and has 45 historic sites. So if you want to do that, it looks really great and points out several different parts around the city to check out. So I'm going to go ahead and close here, say goodbye, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!